Mr. Watson here, and in this video we're going to look at the role of the IOC, another section part of our Olympic Games and global perspective. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to take a brief look at some of the roles of the IOC and a little bit about their organizational structure and a little bit about what they do. The IOC pretty much comes up in every part of this unit. So we'll go into some other things about the IOC in further detail later down the line. For example, in the dysfunctional aspects section, we'll talk about the IOC's role in trying to prevent doping. Okay. So the IOC created 23rd of June 1984. Okay, and this stands for the International Olympic Committee. They are the overarching authority. They control everything. They have the final say on pretty much everything. Okay, they are in charge of the Olympic movement. So they have a president, okay, the top dog, if you like, okay, and the honorary president is Thomas Bach. And I've just put there in blue because it came up in one of the exam questions before, is organise meetings. Now his role is a lot bigger than that, but I'm just trying to include a little role on each of them. So something that the IOC do, they hold regular meetings about different topics. Okay, so that is the president. We have an executive board, okay, below in the hierarchy, so the president, and part of that executive board is the president, below that 4 VPs, 4 vice presidents, and 10 other members. Now their role is to elect or invite other members, which would be below the executive board. And below that, we have the members. And right now, there's 103 as of today. Okay, now it's usually always around 100. Okay, it does change. But they have tried to limit it in the past to 115. However, it has been more than 115 in the past, but they do try to limit it there. But currently there's 103, but still not all countries represented, okay, which is one of the criticisms that the IOC come under. And I think it's important to remember that some of these members might just be a representative of a country, i.e. they'll be the person in the National Olympic Council, okay, not an executive member. So what else do they do? They choose the host city. The IOC are in charge of the bidding process, and there is a voting system, but ultimately the IOC will decide who hosts the Olympics through a rigorous bidding process. Okay, we'll come on to the bidding process a little bit later, and the positives and the negatives. They also choose which sports. You'll often see in the news IOC decide to drop specific sports. So remember a big one, they dropped softball, and there was talk about the wrestling being dropped from Tokyo 2020. Ultimately, they'll decide which sports come in and which sports get dropped. Okay, and they come under a lot of pressure due to the gender discrimination that's existed in the Olympics throughout the years. So it's important that whatever sports they're bringing to the table, that there is a pathway for women and men in the Olympics. They encourage education, one of their roles, especially in the youth. Okay, they're trying to promote Olympism early. Some of them Olympic ideals, fair play, supreme. So they're trying to educate how to be an Olympic athlete early, you know, avoiding doping, playing by the rules, okay, taking pride in representing your country, okay, thriving in competing against the best. And they also provide links. The IOC are like a catalyst for the NOCs, the organising committees, and the international sports federations. They also arrange commissions. So we have the Women's Commission, which come about, which was a great thing, and we have another example is an athletics commission. Okay, so the big thing with the IOC, some of their big roles is leading the fight against doping. Obviously, we've had lots of scandals, which we'll come into in the dysfunctional aspects, and trying to keep the Olympic Games clean is not an easy task, but it is the role of the IOC to make sure they're doing everything they can to do that, such as bringing in the World Anti-Doping Agency and things like that. Promote Olympism, them fair play ideals, them original aims of the modern Olympic Games, creating harmony, world peace, etc. It's important that they're representing that. Ensure the longevity and values of the Games, so making sure they have that sponsorship. It's something they brought in, the top program, etc. Again, we'll come on to that in the economic section, but like I said, the IOC will come up throughout this section. Okay, but it's to ensure that the Olympic Games go on. As we know, not as many bid for the Games anymore due to the costs. So it's important the IOC get the financing right. They show countries that it is sustainable, that they are going to help with funding, and the Olympic Games will go on. But with that, keeping the values, them Olympic values that are key to the Olympic movement. And stop political abuse. Again, we'll come up through this in dysfunctional aspects and politics, especially ensuring that the Olympic Games is a cultural celebration through a sport festival. Now, I'm just going to put on the screen here the bidding process. Now, this isn't a fully detailed bidding process. It's basically just a few points. Okay, the bidding process is like a 10-page plus PDF. Okay, so we've got here, cities submit a bid usually 7 to 11, sometimes 12 years prior to the event, okay, because of everything that involves with hosting. They must submit a detailed plan or video with their bid. They must have some support or given the go-ahead from their local government or their national. There's such things as lobbying, like legal influence, like trying to influence why we should host the Games, but in a legal way. Because the bidding process has been linked to corruption. Salt Lake City, a main example again, which we'll come on to. But there is allowed to be influence, but it's got to be legal. Promoting why we should be the host city. And what happens is members of the evaluation team, they'll visit the cities. Okay, the NOC will oversee the bid from that country. So, like I said, usually you have one representative who deals with the IOC, a delegate, and they'll oversee the bid and they'll report the IOC. And then eventually, the members of evaluation, after they visit the cities, they'll vote for one of them bids. Okay, and then the city with the majority is selected. Now, there are a lot more stuff that goes on there, but to keep it simple for the sake of the exam, these are some key points with the bidding process. Now, there are some problems with the bidding process. Like I said, bribery has taken place in the past, but that's something I'll bring up in dysfunctional aspects. So that's just trying to give you an overview of the role of the IOC, a little bit about their organisational structure, and some simple points about what they do. Okay, thank you.